Hello, everybody at home. My name is Aaron Canole, and welcome back once again to another edition of the Movie Battleground. I hope you guys enjoyed the first half of our sort of rookie week a couple days ago in Jeremy versus Maria. If you haven't checked that match out, do go check it out. Tonight, we have the second half of this week sort of designated for rookie matches here, as we have a similar situation. Somebody who is currently 1-0 taking on somebody who is a rookie. And this is a match that, at least to some perspective, I already have a feeling is going to be interesting because we have returning Joseph Boros, who, of course, took out Don Tucker in his first match, which has already been proven to not have been an easy feat considering Don came back and took a win in his second match. So proving that Joe's victory was certainly a positive one. He is going to be taking on the other half, or third, I guess, because there's three of this trio that was introduced to me in Joshua Diggins, who was supposed to be in that match originally. Just availability issues led to it having to go down to just a two-person match. So instead, we decided, all right, we'll have somebody from that match play him as his debut. And so it is going to be Joseph versus Josh. And this is, again, a very interesting one because obviously Josh has only had the chance to appear as a judge, but certainly even in just his time as a judge, I thought he did a really good job of very clearly stating where his opinions came from, which is obviously a lot of where Battleground is. It's opinions. You just have to get angrier about it. So I'm curious to see how he'll do. And we're going to talk to him first. Making his debut on the Movie Battleground, he is joined by Puss in Boots, it looks like. Great, successful company to be in. Joshua Diggins. Josh, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hopefully I can become your new favorite fearless hero. This is me, joined by my good friend. I always get the direction. There he is, right here.
Yeah, it never works when you try
It never does. There we go. Accurate pointing. Puss right here. Fear me if you dare. No, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be back. Going against Joe, this will be fun. We spar a little bit sometimes here and there on our channel, just with certain conversations like Iron Man being overrated, but that's a whole other situation that Joe believes, which I highly disagree with. But it'll be interesting to jump into this with him. Aaron, you've always been good to me, so it's good to be here. Glad that I can be a part of this and contribute. So hopefully I can come up with a win. And if not, well, then I'll be back again, and well, that time will be a victory. But here to have fun, so let's do this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, go over to their channel, Multiverse of Geekdom, right? I don't want to fuck up the name.
Yes, sir. Go to our channel,
watch that,
Multiverse of
because I've seen that video specifically. If you want to see what these guys can do, like, I don't care if you pause the video and go watch that because it's quicker than sitting through all of this. But they certainly know how to fight, so I'm going to see how this goes. I'm going to sit you in the back and bring in your opponent. Coming in with a record of 1 win, no defeats, he is Joseph Boros. Joseph, welcome back. Basically same position as last time. Coming into this still fresh, still new, playing somebody you know very, very well, except this time you have a win under your belt. Does that do anything extra for you? And you're muted.
Coming in with the same mindset as last time. I'm just here to have fun. I like arguing with people, especially these guys. We talk all the time. We know each other pretty well, which gives us an extra a little bit to go on there. We kind of know what makes each other angry or what really gets to each other. So it should be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And is so obviously coming into your second match, is there anything that happened in your first match with Dawn that you think you can sort of use to your advantage? Anything in terms of how it worked or anything you may have learned about how to debate yourself?
I just gotta make my words go further so that I don't have to keep giving time up.
That is true. That's actually not wrong. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring Josh back in. Guys, let's get this started. Movie Battleground is a game that is a best of 5 rounds. It is the first to 3 points takes the victory. Each round of debate is worth 1 point. If a competitor picks up the first 3 points in a row, that will be a victory by knockout. If at the end of 4 rounds we have a 2-2 tie, we do have a tiebreaker. It's called the blind round. I will only make you guys worry about that if we have to go to it. So until then, in terms of these debates, these guys have had the questions, they've had the opportunity to prep. The way that it works is they will get 60 seconds to open up their argument. That'll be followed by a 2-minute period of a chance to expand, explain, however they want to go at it. A 4-minute open discussion where they'll trade blows back and forth to get their points in, followed by 60 seconds to close out the round. Backstage, I have 3 judges in the form of Malcolm, Zach, and Noah. They will join us on screen, and based on what the competitors have said, will make their deliberation as to who gets the point. With all that said, guys, are we ready to go?
Born ready.
Let's do it. They call me Joshua Battleground for a reason.
All right. So jumping into this first question, we're going to go to your guys' history here. It is, why does Iron Man suck, or is it? Nope, that's not the question. We are going to be talking about history, though, because we are focusing on, I feel like it's not a stretch to say, a brilliant actor who's certainly done a lot of historical pieces. He also did that weird movie Unhinged, where he played an angry guy in a truck that just started like berating this woman and her child.
Mm.
It was weird that exists. The question is, what is the best film featuring Russell Crowe released in the 2000s? And for anyone curious, 2000, 2009, that's what 2000s means. This man has been in a ton of films, including, and I cannot stress this enough, multiple multi-Academy Award nominated and winning films. I mean, it honestly might be one of the most impressive filmographies of someone from the 2000s when you look at it wholesale. But what is the best of it? So behind the scenes, Joe, because you do have the 1-0 on your record, you were deemed the favorite. You had the choice of going first. In an unprecedented move in Movie Battleground, you passed that choice off to your opponent, who then proceeded to pass it back off to you. So it didn't really matter. Joe Pitt chose to go first on questions 1 and 3. Josh will get to go first on 2 and 4. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and bring the timer in. I'm going to wish you guys the best of luck on this first question, and a timer will start for you once you begin speaking.
Picture this: a beautiful, picturesque European countryside. Russell Crowe, Ridley Scott, horses, lions, and Joaquin. Oh my. Gladiator is a cinematic masterpiece. It's a story of loss, jealousy, anger, vengeance. It shows a fall from grace. It's one man who lost everything. His son, his wife, taken from him. His life stripped, his freedoms, only to work his way back up to once again become the person the people cheered for. His name will go down in history. He is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North. And don't you forget it.
The Felix Legion shall not be forgotten, I must say. Do I also get a timer, or do I just go? I think I'm gonna just go. I don't see the timer. But so while I definitely do agree with my opponent for the fact that it was stolen from me. Well, not even so much stolen. He just answered quickly before I could even get my words out. I would say that as much as I love Gladiator, I do believe that there is another movie that could rival his performance in Gladiator, and that is a 2005 classic directed by Ron Howard himself, a good old boxing movie with a comeback story that will knock your socks off. Cinderella Man, about a broken man in the Great Depression who's struggling to keep a job, feed his family. All he wanted was milk and bread, and yet they thought that he was down and out. They thought he could no longer do it. No, but he came back and he won. He shocked the world. James J. Braddock, absolute boxing legend. Russell Crowe gave a dynamite dynamite performance that rivals even that of Maximus himself. So if you want to step toe-to-toe with somebody, watch out. It could be James J. Braddock.
And time. I apologize. I realized I pulled myself out of the call instead of just turning my camera off, so there's a lot of awkward silence in response to your questions on the recording. The timer doesn't start until you speak. That's why the screen looked blank.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah. I promise. I was answering. You just didn't know.
No problem. I appreciate that.
Joseph, back over to you, sir. You have 2 minutes. Time starts when you begin speaking.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix legions, and loyal servant to the true emperor, Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. The relationship that Russell Crowe had with his son alone was so heartbreaking. In the short amount of time you've seen them together in the beginning of the film, the playing together, him running through the fields, until you realize the catastrophic fate that awaits him. You feel the emotions that Russell Crowe is going through. You feel the hurt. You see it through his eyes. You could feel the drive that all he wants is to meet them again. But before he can leave this mortal coil, he needs to get revenge for their unnecessary deaths. It is a movie unlike any other. Cinderella Man is a dated film. Ron Howard has become the vanilla of directors. It's a good movie, a feel-good story, but it's predictable and formulaic, generic. They took the real story and they made it worse. The fighting choreography leaves a lot to be desired. It isn't a top 5 boxing movie, but Gladiator is the #1 Gladiator movie. The battle choreography and visuals are breathtaking, and Gladiator is a Best Picture winner. So the Academy clearly agrees. And this is not just Russell Crowe's best performance of the 2000s. This is one of the best of all time. And that's going up against a fantastic performance by Joaquin himself.
And time. All right. Josh, back over to you. 2 minutes.
The disrespect will not continue. I will not take it. Jam it, Joe. Do you not realize the greatness that is Cinderella Man? Yes, it can be a bit predictable in the Cinderella story and how, yes, this man, he was struggling and we see him battle back to the top. Yes, I understand that. He wins in the end. Yes, I get that. But it is not about the destination. It is merely about the journey and all the struggles that he had to endure. People were saying that he was down and out. His hand was broken. His family was hungry. They starved. Renee Zellweger plays his wife. She was concerned for his safety. He was going to go up against a man by the name of Max Baer, who was known to kill people in the ring, and yet he stood tall and fought back with no problem whatsoever. He really showed the world when he fought against Lasky, and he took his best hit, and he had him on the ropes, beating him down with no problem, smiling with blood dripping from the side of the mouth. How can you say Cinderella Man is dated? The fight choreography is amazing. It suits the time period for which it was in. The flashing of the cameras, the slow motion of the movement, bang, bang. You get all of that action right up in there, and it is absolutely glorious. No, it's not Creed 3. No, it's not the Rocky franchise. It's its own thing, and that's what it needed to be. It separates itself from the others. And with a dynamite performance, a dynamic performance from Russell Crowe, absolutely phenomenal, with a Best Supporting Actor win from Paul Giamatti, don't forget that, as his coach from The Inside Out, a great line, great moment in the movie, on a great score directed by Thomas Newman, thank you. How can I just don't understand it? Yes, I understand the love for Gladiator. I have the same love and passion for it. Here we are like two gladiators going at it, just as he did in that ring, but I will not fall, sir. Just as Russell Crowe refused to fall.
That might be the most cinematic 2 minutes I've ever heard. I can say that because I don't have to judge this shit. That was beautiful. Well done. Boys,
Thank
you have four. You have Joe as well. God damn, you guys are over here writing movies. All right, we have 4 minutes on the clock to recreate whichever version of this fight you prefer, the one in the gladiator ring or the one in the boxing ring. I always remind players, try not to talk over each other too much. Give each other a chance to breathe and get some points in, but you'll find a rhythm for it as you go. I'm sure you guys already have a rhythm for this. You have 4 minutes on the clock. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Beautiful.
I'd like to start off by saying that Josh has already said that my movie is the better movie and that his is almost comparable in the beginning of his argument. That's how he started off this whole fight.
That's because I respect your opinion, sir. And I respect the gladiator. And you picked it. You messaged him before I could.
So you agree that Gladiator?
I agree that it is a great performance. I agree. It is his better. But I have to defend the other side. And what I'm going to say is that Cinderella Man is that. And I believe it. Why do I believe it, Joe? I'm going to tell you why, Joe. I just told you before. You see the story of this struggling man trying to take care of his family in a time period that is so crucial to American life that people lost hope, and yet he restored hope to those people. Hope was restored. If a man who was broken down and out, counted out, too old to fight, too old to come back, could come back and do what he did, that is what gave the American people hope. That is what the S on the chest of Clark Kent means, Sir Joe.
Hope. You mean like what Maximus gave to all of those people, to all of those gladiators, to the entire society? He was a general. He fell down, became a slave, fought his way back up. He had an army behind him again, but not an army that was forced to be there, an army that wanted to follow him because of his greatness. It was Russell Crowe's magnetism that makes that performance what it is. Russell Crowe, him and Joaquin Phoenix and their dance back and forth, Joaquin's fear of Russell Crowe, of all that he's achieved. The movie speaks to you on such a level that it's not about gladiators. It's about human interactions. It's about wanting the things that we cannot have. It's about greed. It's about lust. It's about jealousy. The movie speaks to you on such a visceral level. Yes, your movie is a good Cinderella story, but this movie has the same things. It's also has better fights. It has better visuals, better dialogue. It's a better film.
I mean, obviously, when you're in Roman times, you're going to have those great, gigantic battles. But when it comes down to something personal, a battle between two men, not even just two men, this is a man with society behind him at the same time. See, I think that we agreed that Russell Crowe clearly is the symbol of hope, because in these two movies, he brings out that hope. Yes, I understand that is the counter argument, but at the same time, what we see in Cinderella Man, the true nature of it, yes, things like Gladiator that took place, I'm sure. I mean, it's not it says historical fiction, but understand this is what happened in Cinderella Man. And people were losing their minds. They were losing everything. The stock market crashed. All we had was bread. We had to go out and try to find a way to get a job over in the fish yards, to hope to get selected that morning. If you didn't get selected, you don't eat. And yet he said, I have to do something. So what did he do? He decided to put those gloves back on and fight, regardless of the fact of what people said about him and all the things that he nearly lost. And yet he still came out on top.
The true story is more than likely that fight was fixed, and none of that really happened. So let's be realistic. The mafia controlled boxing back then, and the Great Depression was a time when organized crime ran everything.
Understandably
so built on a lie.
We also know that Ron Howard is known for doing such things, exaggerating the truth, but the truth nonetheless still existed somewhere in that gap, whether or not it was fixed. Did everyone know that at the time? Probably not. I'm pretty sure the common people didn't really know that, but what they knew was that there was a man that stood up in that ring and battled back against death itself. And
taking advantage of people is wrong.
It is wrong. I agree.
All right, we can agree on that. Taking advantage of people is wrong. Let's all go.
Absolutely.
No, you guys have 1 minute left on the round. Joe, you are up first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
When you hear Russell Crowe, the first thing that pops into your head is not Cinderella Man. It's not a boxing glove. It is two horses, tattooed on the arm of the general of the Northern armies. It is the gravitas that Russell Crowe brings to a role that no one else could fill. It is the slimy, the greasy performance of Joaquin Phoenix and his overcoming all odds to look him in the eyes and get his vengeance, at which time he was able to die a peaceful death. It is a complete story. It is a complete arc, and it ties itself up beautifully in the end. Because despite all the struggles and all of the fights, in the end, Maximus ended up back in the arms of his wife, back with his son and his horses, peacefully living forever.
And time.
You see, what we do in life does echo in eternity. But at the same time, you have to beat that son of a bitch from the inside out. And that's what Paul Giamatti was telling Russell Crowe the entire time. There was blood on the floor. He's in the corner. He's struggling. His ribs are cracked. Hand is still sore from the last time it was broken. And yet he stood there, toe-to-toe. He thought about his family who warned him, who was afraid for him to go in the ring. His opponent taunted him at a dinner, disrespected his wife in front of him, and yet he maintained his composure and said, no, I'm going to save it for the ring. And when he stepped in that ring, Max Baer could not deal with him. He couldn't hold up his own up against him. Why? Because a man driven with purpose, a man who knows that he has more to lose than one who rules the world, a one who climbed to the top and battled back with ropes around him, and people were cheering for him as he rose through the ranks. Despite everything, he knew that in the end, he'd be in the arms of his wife in victory.
And time.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, when they say paint a picture, I think you guys got that part down. Let's see how it played off with the judges. I'm going to go ahead and put you guys in the back and bring our judges on screen here. Malcolm, I'm going to go to you first. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point for you?
I mean, I just wish I could vote by how cinematic they made it feel. But yeah, I mean, this was actually really tough because both sides did really well in this, and it was just really down to the wire. But ultimately, I think I went with Joe on this, just because I think I heard more from Joe about why he really liked Gladiator. I don't think Josh was really knocking down on it as much. So yeah, Joe.
Okay. All right. So Zach, over to you. Same question.
I will say this is probably one of the best matches I've ever judged. And I actually went with Josh on this one more because he gave me more reasons and more areas where I feel like Cinderella Man was the better movie. So for that, I went with Josh.
All right, so it is a tied vote right now. Noah, you yourself have been praised, especially with your intros, with the way that you sort of write them sometimes for going at it. They even tried to use it as a tactic against you in the horror match. I don't think that worked. It shows the ball didn't work in your favor that night.
Don't even talk about that. We don't bring that up.
No, so going to you for this tie vote here. Who gets it, and what was the main selling point?
Gentlemen, wow. Both of you, I am going to school for film right now, and if I ever make it big, I'm keeping you two in mind. Josh or Joshua, I don't know which one you prefer more. I know you're already part of some shoots and stuff like that. Regardless, you two are amazing. Cinematic as hell. With that being said, my point is going to go to Joe with this one, just because I feel like the weight and quantity of his points for not only his movie, but also against Cinderella Man just kind of stuck. They were both cinematic and both able to bring up the magnitude and the gravitas of both of their films. But I just feel like Joshua wasn't able to really fully defend Joe's points.
All right. Guys, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and sit you in the back, and we will jump on to question number 2 here in this matchup. And we have spent the last 12 minutes giving Russell Crowe the absolute praise that he deserves for being a brilliant actor. But sometimes things happen. And for only the second time ever in Movie Battleground history, both competitors selected the same exact strength. And in that one other match, I gave them that strength twice. So we're going to battle Russell Crowe again. And I figured, well, I gave them one question, so I might as well just give them the inverse of that question. What is the worst film featuring Russell Crowe released in the 2000s? And in case you forgot from the last round, 2000 to 2009. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and jump into it. Josh, you were up first this time around, so I'll go ahead and bring the timer back in for you, and it'll start when you begin speaking.
All right. This was a very interesting point here. So what I did clearly in this situation, I love a lot of Russell Crowe's films, and there just happened to be one that I didn't really care for much. Sad to say that I also didn't witness this one, but I did go through certain reviews on this one and how they bashed it clearly, and I think that at the end of the day, Tenderness is his worst film. It's not tender-hearted. It's not what it seems. It's very unusually slow. Russell Crowe, he's watchable in it, yes, as he does in all his films. But the rest of the cast falls flat. The story is not thrilling. It's all over the place. The book clearly was better, as it seems to always be, but it matters not. It's the worst film that Russell Crowe has done. I'm pretty sure he regrets it, but that's the beauty of when you live without tenderness. Time.
It would be time. Joe, back over to you.
You're muted, Joe.
Picture this. Russell Crowe, Ridley Scott. Is this the same notes again? No. This is a movie called A Good Year. And believe me, if you watch this film, it is a bad year. This movie is so bad that you'll want to cancel Christmas. A romantic comedy with no humor, no chemistry, so devoid of any fun or personality, and absolutely absent of charm. Lifetime wouldn't air this film. Both Ridley Scott and Crowe were so far out of their element that it doesn't even feel like it should be a real movie. It's a cookie-cutter story about a relative who dies and leaves a fucking vineyard to Russell Crowe. Such a relatable story that we can all understand. And then, oh no, he falls in love, and suddenly there's a long-lost relative who claims to be the one who really owns it. Find out more.
And time. I think you'll find that Lifetime is actually airing this exact movie that exists, because how great is it to say that Ridley Scott directed a movie that's on your channel? Like one way or the other, With that said, though, we're going to jump into this. It is Tenderness versus A Good Year. I had to Google both of these movies. I'm just going to be honest with you. I didn't know if they were real movies or not. I assumed they were, but I hadn't checked. So that tells you what I think of them. Josh, back over to you. Time starts when you begin speaking.
So the thing with Tenderness, this is a movie that involves a policeman who's trying to figure out whether this teen murdered the family or not. And honestly, the conclusion I didn't even get to. Everything else just seemed so boring, bone dry, generic, not even realistic in any way, shape, or form. Apparently, Laura Dern makes an appearance in this movie, not as Dr. Ellie Sattler, but as someone who I care clearly not to name. Why? Because this movie is so bad. It's terrible. Poorly reviewed left and right. People are slightly mixed on it, but I think that a movie named Tenderness, it kind of gives, a romantic comedy, the tenderness of love, or maybe you want to be like Ben Affleck and go to a tender bar. I don't know. You tell me. But what I'll tell you is this, that there is nothing tender about this film, and that is because the writing is poor. How do you bring these scenes to come together and not have a very cohesive ending? I don't know. My point is simply this. Russell Crowe, you made a bad choice, my friend. Don't make that choice again. John Polson probably regrets putting this movie out. I'm sure he does. A lot of people regret seeing this movie. Their eyes were bleeding in the theaters as they watched this. They couldn't take it anymore, scratching their eyes out. I mean, look at Puss right behind me. He wasn't entertained. Are you not entertained? This is not what we're here for. We're here for entertainment. So entertain us. Don't fail me in that department. I came to this theater to come and witness this, and yet you failed at everything that it was supposed to do for me. I didn't like it. Not at all. A crime thriller. It's supposed to thrill me. I'm supposed to be, yes, shoot 'em up, bang, bang. Let's solve the mystery together. Let's see what happens when you crack open this here murder mystery. And you failed me yet again, Starscream.
This feels personal. Joe, I'm going to go back over to you. Time starts and you begin speaking.
A good year is boring. It's a drama-ish, romance-ish, and not so much humor. This movie, Crow, was so absolutely boring, and it was such an abuse of an otherwise decent script. His performance, along with Ridley's directing, are what made this movie unexcusably bad. It wasn't just him being in a bad movie. It's him contributing to the movie being the worst in his acting career. Tenderness is a crime film based on a book. It's fairly faithful to the source material. It's heavy, it's weighted, it's thought-provoking. It makes you think and feel. It's bolstered by Crow's gravitas. He's in his element, and he's his true self. It's the story of a detective hell-bent on stopping a troubled kid from killing again. The story about a kid being set up or taking the fall. It's about a girl who wanted to have him kill her because of the attention she's getting from grown men that is making her sick and not even want to be here. Her mother's boyfriend's interest in her. This movie is much more riveting than some Hallmark Channel reject. Russell Crowe, his wife is in the hospital. All he could think about is getting back to her. He's blaming this kid in this situation. He's using it as an escape from the pain that he's going through, the emotions that he's dealing with his wife. It's an outlet. The movie has so much to it. The team makes you sympathetic despite the tense nature of the scenes. This 22-year-old kid who's just getting, 18-year-old kid who's just getting out of jail for killing his parents and now gonna go in for life for a murder that he didn't commit.
And time. Sorry, just got distracted for 1 second, just the wrong second. All right, we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. Once again, the timer will start when you begin speaking.
Here's the problem with A Good Year and your defense of A Good Year. A Good Year had a clearly superior cast, and yet it still falls apart. My film, Tenderness, it's just piss poor. You at least had the support of the cast that could probably uplift this movie. But yet Tenderness, based on a book, you already have written source material. You try to copy it to the screen, and yet again, it doesn't work. Russell Crowe, yes, you're watchable, but your story falls apart. This director should have been nowhere near this movie. He shouldn't have touched it. He shouldn't have looked at it.
Talk about directors.
The book at least before he even started.
Talk about directors that shouldn't be near a movie. Ridley Scott has no place making any romantic comedies. You said that it had a great cast, so it should have been better. You're right. That's part of the problem. It had a great cast, a great director, and it's a steaming pile of shit.
And yet Ridley Scott is good, slightly, with his romance. You just defended Gladiator. There was a romance that was involved there. And yet, Joe, tell me, what's wrong with you? You sit there, you drink your beer, you wear your Batman tank top. You think the tenderness is what's going to get you this here, huh? You think you in that silly Yankees hat is going to really make you feel even more tender? No, it doesn't work that way. Tenderness is bad because it was already there. You already had something to go off of. Was A Good Year not original?
Gladiator is not a love story. It's not a romance, but it's a love story. It is a story of love, but it is not a romance. Ridley Scott cannot do romance. I never said that he couldn't do emotion at all. This movie is a cookie-cutter Hallmark movie if they dropped the cookie in dog shit and then a dog ate it and shit it back out again.
If the dog did that, would he still be the gingerbread man?
Not the gumdrop buttons. The problem is, this movie should be great. Ridley Scott is great. The cast is promising. The story is good. The movie is terrible. The acting from Russell Crowe actively contributes to the downfall and detriment of this film. Whereas his performance in your film, it actually adds gravitas and weight to the story. It makes the film better. And all around, it's a better film. I would rather watch that again than I would watch Russell Crowe in a fucking rom-com because, oh my God, this movie is painful.
What? I'd rather sit through a good year than another moment of tenderness. I don't want that. I want tender feelings. I can go see my woman. I can do that. But tenderness made me feel nothing of the sort. Why should I feel bad for this kid? I don't feel bad for the kid. You went against and killed your family.
What about the 15-year-old girl who's getting attention from all these older men who are trying to have sex with her and are sexualizing her body? It's a story with angles and twists and drama. It's a gripping tale.
Was it really gripping? Was it the execution was poor, piss poor. If you want someone to do a true, greatly great crime thriller, you go to Scorsese. You find Mr. Fincher. No, what does Russell do? He teams up with some guy named John Polson who decides to try to adapt this to the big screen. It doesn't work. It's terrible.
Both of these movies are not very good. But one of them is entertaining and rewatchable.
A Good Year is entertaining and highly rewatchable.
It is tenderness. A Good Year. You've never seen it. You have never seen it. You have no idea. And I don't want to hear your garbage. You admitted you haven't seen your movie either.
And time. All right. You have 1 minute left on the clock. Josh, we'll go back over to you first. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Before time began, there was tenderness. I think. At least I hoped. But in the same sense, as I will harp as to this point time and time again, this is a film that no one should ever witness. A Good Year at least has a title that could possibly give you something of, well, maybe I should take a look at this. Maybe by the end of it, I'll have a good year. But when you watch Tenderness, you're thinking, well, what's so tender about it? Why is that even the name of the movie? You feel nothing from the title at all. A title should give you something as well to give you a clue into what the movie is. There's nothing tender about it. Russell Crowe's probably only listen. His performance, he's watchable. But he's the only thing about it that's watchable. He uplifts it, but everything else falls apart, which is the problem. And if the film falls apart around you, no matter how good you are in it, it's still going to be terrible. No tenderness. Stay away.
And time. All right, Joe, back over to you. Final minute.
In a world where 3 lives intersect, Buffalo Detective Lieutenant Cristoforo, whose catatonic wife is in a hospital, takes special interest in Eric Kamenko, a juvenile who killed his parents and will be freed on his 18th birthday. So does Laurie Cranston, 15 or 16, her body fully developed and the object of lust by her boss and her mother's new boyfriend. She keeps a scrapbook about Eric, and when he's released from custody, she hides in the back seat of his car, insisting he take her with him on a trip towards Albany, where he's planning to meet a girl. Cristoforo is certain Eric will kill again, so he follows. It's clear early on that Cristoforo is probably right. But what's Laurie's motivation? That is a gripping film, not some bullshit Hallmark reject.
And time. All right. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back. We'll bring the judges on screen for their deliberation of this. I do have a couple of fact checks to pull up quickly. So because reviews and critic stuff was brought up, I always like to just source Rotten Tomatoes as a quick way to get the idea across. Tenderness received a 40% critic approval rating with an average score of 5.1 out of 10. It received an audience approval rating of 22% with a 2.5 out of 5. A Good Year received a 26% critical rating with an average score of 4.8 out of 10, so about the same in terms of score. But 65% of the audience approved A Good Year with a 3.6 out of 5 score, so audiences were more fond of that film. A Good Year is actually based on a novel, a 2004 novel written by Peter Maley. I want to say that's how that's said. And it was written in 2004, so basically it was written and then immediately adapted into a movie. John Polson, the director of Tenderness, is most known for his television work. As of recently, he's been directing episodes of Chicago, the cop show, whichever version of it you watch, Law and Order, and FBI. So he's probably at about his level. In terms of how the hell Russell Crowe ended up in this, Russell Crowe worked with him previously when Paulson was an actor, not a director, so it was probably more of a called-in favor. And apparently he only agreed to sign on if his role was expanded in the movie. The actual book, Tenderness, revolves around the dual plot of this girl and this boy and a sort of pseudo-romance between the two of them. And in order to get Crowe to join the film, the detective role was expanded from a supporting character introduced seemingly halfway through the book to be the leading character, and the story was sort of just reworked around that idea. So yeah, not good projects on either side, but who argued for which one was worse? Zach, I go to you. Who gets your vote?
I'm going with Joe on this one. He was able to definitely attack his own movie, but especially in that last minute, he was able to really sell why Tenderness was the better movie. So for me, I went with Joe.
Okay, Noah, down to you. Who gets your vote? Andrew.
Before I even say a word, Josh brought up a really good point saying that the source material should have helped, and yet it was still a shit movie. And then Joe brought up a really good point saying he counter used Josh's point saying that the good cast should have made it better, but it's that much more disappointing that it wasn't a good movie because of the cast and the acting was horrible. But I just think this is so hard. In the end, I think I'm gonna have to go with Josh just because he was able to convince me a little bit more why this movie was worse. The poor writing. He even brought up a little bit about the editing between scenes and how it just doesn't make the scenes flow and all that kind of stuff. And also, little note, I want Joshua to do slam poetry because I feel like he's gonna kick ass if he does that. So it's gonna go Joshua to me.
All right, so Malcolm, it's a split vote, so over to you for the tiebreak. Who gets it?
Yeah, I mean, the person I'm voting for actually picked a movie I actually really like, but just tough to hear slammed. But ultimately, it went to Joe. He managed to talk more about sort of why he doesn't like A Good Year, but he also talked more about why Tenderness can be really enjoyable as well. So I vote Joe.
All right, guys, thanks so much. I'm going to go ahead and sit you in the back and bring back the competitors as we are going to officially move on from the Russell Crowe Power Hour. I hope you enjoyed that promotion there. And instead, we are going to move into a question that is a viewer-submitted question. This was sent in to us by one of the players of this game to be given to two other players for debate. And this one was given to us by currently the number one contender in the league, Austin Howell. And his question was, which Steven Spielberg film that isn't good had the most potential wasted? Which I think is a very specific sect of talking about films. It's not often discussed, the idea of something being good and bad versus what really had the potential to succeed versus what maybe failed and couldn't have. You know, a lot of people, to use a film that wasn't selected, a lot of people look towards something like 1941, which is a movie that's very mixed in terms of reception, and people will go, well, it's an out-and-out comedy with the likes of Belushi and made by Spielberg, so maybe there's some element of that might not have worked to begin with. But potential is obviously a huge part of that, so I'm curious to see how this goes. Joe, I'm going to head back up to you first for this one as I give you your timer. Your opening minute will start when you begin speaking.
This isn't even a question. Spielberg's legacy is based on many, many movies, but one franchise. That's Indiana Jones, Raiders, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade, all super entertaining movies, all a fantastic time. We get to spend time with Harrison Ford at his gruffest, most prickly, and yet endearing as Indiana Jones. There is a charm to these films, or there was. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull soured it. There was potential there. It could have allowed for a whole new generation of Indiana Jones. It could have been a breath of fresh air for this franchise. It could have been spin-offs. It could have been a future. But instead, we got this jumbled mess of B-movie trash. But just think of what could have been.
And time. We're gonna go back. Oh, by the way, that everything that Joe just said was the pitch meeting that someone gave to Disney when they decided to greenlight Indiana Jones 5. Let's just think of what could be, the money we could make. No, we're gonna go back over to you, Josh. Time starts when you begin speaking for your pick.
Whenever there's a war, whenever aliens are involved, you decide to call the one known as Tom Cruise. You don't look to E.T. the extraterrestrial, no. You look to a novel written by H.G. Wells, War of the Worlds. You see, Steven Spielberg is a legend, the Hall of Famer. I believe he is the greatest of all time. That goes without question. He would say Stanley Kubrick. I think he's lying. He knows it's him. And War of the Worlds is an attestament to that. It's not great. I'm sorry. Just, yes, your special effects were phenomenal, but was I truly invested in your story? No. I was not. It just seemed like your typical generic aliens invading. God, we gotta run away. No, I don't want that anymore. Give me something more riveting, something more powerful. Do a twist, something original that you could just make it more memorable, and I don't have that.
And time. All right, so it is Indiana Jones versus the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull versus War of the Worlds. And as always, the movie always was forgotten about once again. We're going to go up to Joe on this one. Time starts when you begin speaking.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull could have allowed for a whole new generation of Indiana Jones films, with Shyla taking over. Mud No More, Indiana Reborn. They could have made a film all about working together or against each other to achieve a goal, something simple and basic, told a good, cohesive story that was passing a baton. Instead, they gave us a jumbled and convoluted mess. It's like a B movie through and through. The storylines, the effects, all of it felt so out of place for a franchise that is so near and dear to all of our hearts. The unlikable story, the full-blown sci-fi twist. It was such a waste of potential and a future. Hopefully 5 will have a better fate. War of the Worlds is a good movie based on one of the greatest sci-fi novels of all time. But it is not just a sci-fi movie about aliens and invasions and people getting blown up. It's a story about a man who has a strained relationship with his children, trying to be part of their lives, trying to show them that he loves them, that he'll be there for them, that no matter what, they can rely on him. Even though in the past he hasn't been the best, even though in the past he might not have always been there. They might blame him for his family not being together. But he needs them to know that they can trust him, that he loves them, that he will do anything it takes to be there for them. Even if that means fighting fucking alien tripod monsters that fly from the fucking sky and try to blow up the world, taking the White House down, destroying place after place after place, person after person, blowing up in front of them. He will fight like the Dickens when his children get taken to get them back. There is no stopping Tom fucking Cruise. Tom Cruise doesn't make bad movies. TC Legend is a legend.
And time. All right, Josh, back over to you. 2 minutes on the clock.
The thing is, what we have to realize is that the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, while universally hated, Shia LaBeouf I did not find annoying. I think personally he added a different element. He was very enjoyable in this movie. Getting on that bike, riding, slick back and everything. Kate Blanchett being added to it, highly entertaining as a Nazi. Ants shredding an individual down to their bones. My God, as a child, that's horrifying. But when I look back at it now, as a man, it's wild. It's gratifying. Why? It was a Nazi. And what is Harrison Ford doing? He's fighting Nazis. Isn't that not what we're here for? We are here to see that on his adventure. And I think the adventure was great. The problem here with War of the Worlds is the score was boring. The kid was annoying. I prefer to watch Independence Day over and over again. Why? Because we will not go quietly into the night. We will fight and have our Independence Day. That is what we're here for. Tom just cruises through the movie like it's any other day in the park. I don't really get a riveting performance from him. I wasn't really enthralled like I was with A Few Good Men because I want to ask the question. I mean, did you order the Code Red? No. The Code Red was ordered in War of the Worlds. I'm going to tell you why it was. Because it was bad. It wasn't good. John Williams usually delivers a score that you will remember for the rest of your natural life, and yet I didn't get that Jurassic Park feel. I didn't get that Star Wars feel. I didn't get that E.T. feel. I didn't get that Indiana Jones feel. This man is supposed to be the greatest of all time, supposedly. I prefer Hans Zimmer, but he's supposed to be the greatest of all time, and yet I don't remember any of that. See, Steven tries to put this movie together, and yet the second half falls apart. First half, it holds up a bit, and then it just falls flat, leaving nothing but a terrible, terrible climax. Who cares?
And time. I can't lie, even if it's a boring score, I would love to have my terrible, terrible climax composed by John Williams. That was horrible. All right, we're going to go into the 4-minute open discussion. The timer will start back when the first competitor speaks.
Yes, I will say something, Joe, and I'm going to say this. Your Crystal Skull is everything. How could you hate such a movie and yet love War of the Worlds? I don't understand it.
It is not just me who hates it. It's most people who hate it.
But Joe, we're not talking
because War of the Worlds is a sci-fi movie. Indiana Jones is a series about an archaeologist who fights Nazis. It is not about aliens and crystal fucking skulls. It is supposed to be a grounded and realistic movie, or somewhat. The guy pulls out a knife, shoo, 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 bang. Because you know what? You don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
No, you don't.
War of the Worlds is a good film. You might not think it's great. Maybe it doesn't lead up to all these expectations that you had, but it's still a good movie.
No.
This is supposed to be a bad movie, a movie that wasn't good, with wasted
and had the most potential wasted. See, when I see something involving a war, I want that. I need to see it. Something that I can get caught up in, like a Braveheart, like a Last of the Mohicans, like a Robin Hood 2010. I want to feel that feeling of war going on, and yet your climax falls apart.
The greatest stories aren't one-dimensional. This movie is set in the backdrop of a sci-fi film, but it is a story about familial love. It's about a parent's love for their child and their willingness to sacrifice anything for them.
A child that needed discipline, a child who refused to listen. No, Joe. I was not enthralled with the character. I felt no attachment. If anything, they could have just taken the child with no problem. And you know what? I wouldn't have cared. Why? Because that relationship, it was not there. It wasn't crucial.
Yet Tom Cruise still was willing to sacrifice anything for his son, because it wasn't about... Sometimes you do not see your parents. You do not see everything they're doing for you. You regret them. You blame them. But in reality, they're the only ones who are there for you. As a parent myself, the theme, the way that he's willing to drop everything, to go all out, just to rebuild the relationship with his son, to try and be the hero that his son needs in a time and an environment where heroes are more needed than ever.
And was not Shia LaBeouf the illegitimate son?
He was a legitimate son.
Right. So he was the legitimate son.
But their relationship was so stagnant and you didn't feel any type of emotion or connection. It felt so boring and generic.
Two different films. I don't understand. You say it felt boring. I say it felt even more entertaining than that of War of the Worlds. At least, again, I say Shia wasn't annoying. Shia was doing what Shia does.
And you're talking about his son. What about his daughter? What about Dakota Fanning and her brilliant performance at a young age?
Do with those children. Invade and take them away.
Just because you hate children, Josh, doesn't mean that the movie is bad. We've been through this.
Them specifically.
You hate children. You want them to stay out of Shrek movies. You want the movie theater to yourself. I know you.
You know what? You're absolutely right. Because if anybody walks in a theater and I'm by myself, and if they decide to sit next to me, we're going to have a problem. You have all this open space, and yet you want to be right here. No way, sir. That is what War of the Worlds is.
So your problem with War of the Worlds is just with children.
No.
You want to see kids die.
I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. War of the Worlds is the person that walks into my theater when I want to have a great enjoyment, and it just comes and sits next to me and craps all over it. At least with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I could tolerate that person walking in, and because you know what? We're just going to make fun of it together. But at least we're going to make fun of it together because it's bad. But
if I want to watch a bad movie,
War of the Worlds was boring, dry, and John Williams gave me nothing memorable. I want that score, and I want it now.
The score was great. The movie was great. The story is a classic piece of literature.
It's not Jurassic. God damn it.
All right, we're going to go into the closing minute here. Joe, you are back up first. Time starts.
Is he really?
Yeah.
In this all too familiar story by H.G. Wells, you see Tom Cruise in one of his most impassioned and human roles, even as the environment around him becomes more and more obscene and ridiculous. You feel for him as he struggles to keep his children at all costs. You feel his heartbreak when they're ripped away. You understand his motivations and his reasoning. We see the terrible side of humans. Even as alien monsters emerge from the sky, they're not the biggest threats at times. It's beautiful, entertaining, emotional, and a fantastic action film. Indiana Jones, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, is one of the worst movies Harrison Ford or Shia LaBeouf have ever appeared in. Their careers are just filled with better films. It is a bad movie and a chance where they could have done so much more.
And time. All right, Josh, over to you. Final minute.
Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I had an interesting opening, one that I remember to this day. I enjoyed the music, the thrill of the chase. It was lovely seeing that's warehouse being opened up, and then we see Indy break in. That right there was a walk down memory lane. At least when it comes to franchises, when one movie is bad, okay, you kind of expect that. They can't all be perfect, unless you're Toy Story, but you know, sometimes you fall apart here. Steven Spielberg had a chance with this one standalone movie to make something legendary. Him and John Williams teaming up together again, and yet I find it forgettable. Tom Cruise, yes, you say he's very familial, he's very fatherly, as Steven Spielberg likes to infuse in all of his films, but not as well as he's done in the past. It was not instrumental. It was boring. It was bone dry. But at least when I sit back and I watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I can take it for what it is. It's a terrible movie, but at least I'm entertained from beginning to end.
And time. All right.
Another
great round, guys. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back. We'll go ahead and bring the judges in. The only real fact check that I have for this round is I don't think we can definitively say that Josh hates kids, as Justin Chatwin, the actor who played his son, was already pushing his mid-20s by the time he shot the movie. No matter how old that he is in the movie, he was clearly an adult in real life. However, I think we can all relate to being in a movie theater and having some fucking child come up and sit next to you, and you're just like, God damn it, I just wanted to watch the Blue's Clues movie alone in peace. Pissed off. No, just me. Okay. No, I'm gonna go to you first. Who gets your vote, and what was the main selling point?
I'm gonna keep this really short and simple. Josh convinced me that his movie was worse. Joe convinced me that his film had the most the potential wasted, if that makes sense.
Yes,
So Joe gets my point.
absolutely. All right, Malcolm, down to you.
Yeah, this is one I was really looking forward to, sort of how well they asked the questions, like, because they're both talking about how they think that their move they picked is not good. But I promise I've got nothing against Josh, but I do have to vote Joe here because I did hear more from Joe about why his movie had more potential that could have happened with his. So Joe gets my point.
All right. Well, judges, thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and sit you guys in the back, though, because your winner with a final knockout score of 3-0, it is Joseph Boros pulling out a very, very big victory there. So you are now 2-0 with a knockout in this rookie season of yours. At least as of everyone who's played now, you are looking like potentially the standout rookie. Considering you've had already in 2 matches, you've had a knockout and you've had a blind round victory, which a lot of competitors, well, they don't like experiencing first off, but they don't have them. So very impressive. How are you feeling after these 2 matches?
I'm feeling good. Like I said, born and raised in New York, talking shit, debating, arguing, grew up with 4 sisters. This is all ingrained in me from an early age. It's just what I do. It's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so obviously schedules being a thing they are, it'll be a little bit before we can have you back for the 3rd match. It'll be sometime in the summer. But are you looking forward, because with this 3rd match now, unless you can find a ringer, bring them into the league and have them win 2 matches before June or July, you are going to be playing somebody who you are probably much less familiar with than these 2 guys. Is that something that excites you, scares you, or any which way thought on that?
Oh, it's gonna be fun. I look forward to facing off against new people. It's gonna be harder in some ways, but also easier in others. When people know you as well as Don and Josh and I know each other, it makes it a little trickier sometimes because you can kind of predict what the other person's going to say, and you have to figure out how to defend against it. But they could also predict what you're going to say.
No, that's fair, especially with this case of, like, again, only once has it ever happened before where 2 competitors came at me with the same strength, and I was immediately like, because the first 2, obviously all the competitors I can say thankfully get on with each other. We've had no issues in that sense in this league, but they're not like socializing friends to that level, so it was just kind of ironic that they both sent in the same strength. The fact that you 2 knew each other and your minds both went to the same place was like, that's funny as hell. And certainly I think it shook out very interestingly. But congratulations to you, sir. Until the next time, take care of yourself, and we look forward to having you back then.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And I'll sit you in the back and bring in Josh, who I've said before, this year has been a season of impressive rookie debuts. And despite the fact that this is, unfortunately for yourself, a knockout loss, I'm going to say there was something impressive in there, specifically in your approach to debating, which is, I'd say, different in terms of the expressiveness behind it than some other competitors bring. There are certain competitors that take a very, very straightforward, fact-based approach, whereas yours is a lot more expressive. And I think with some fine-tuning, it's certainly one that could play in your favor going forward. How are you feeling after the first match?
You know how I feel, Aaron. I've never, well, let me not lie. I've played villains before. And usually I'm quite a nice guy, but for some reason, Joe is just making me want to turn to the dark side in this league. There's a need for me to be a character that just goes into villainy. I'll do so. I appreciate your acknowledgement of my expressive ways. I'm a passionate individual. I love film. I love cinema, and like it's always been a part of me. I mean, even as an actor, I watch films differently now, and I write a lot as well. So it all kind of culminates into just this passionate fire that I have. On my channel, I've started even working on my first video analysis, video essay that I've been wanting to do for a while. And I love doing the deep dives and things. And that's why I'm able to, like, I see the deeper themes in certain movies, not just the directors and box office and all, but like, you start to see things differently once you're getting involved and more in acting and all. And so Today it wasn't on my side. Hopefully in the future down the line, it will be. But I've definitely enjoyed doing this match. Joe, congratulations on your victory. Next time I will do my best to make sure that you know that I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
Absolutely. Well, it was great to have you, sir. I look forward to the next time. But till then, take care of yourself and keep care of Puss in Boots. We need him for the next one. We can't lose him in the movie.
Oh, of course. Come on. Who's your favorite fearless hero? It's not going anywhere.
Absolutely. So go ahead and put you in the back, guys. And that will bring a wrap to our duo of rookie matches this week and another excellent one here tonight. Joe continuing to prove himself as a standout after a very tough but excellent first match. He gets the knockout victory here tonight, putting himself at 2-0 with a knockout. Certainly a very good position within the league already. And Josh, well, again, not picking up the victory tonight, he did make this a tough knockout victory for Joe. There was certainly no part of him that was just kind of bowing over and letting him take it. And I look forward to seeing what comes of him in his next match. With that said, though, guys, that is going to be it for everyone here. Normally, I don't do individual plugs in the videos, but in cases like this where both guys come from the same place, check out their stuff at the Multiverse of Geekdom, as they are a good friend. They've become good friends of the league, so check them out over there. Please be sure to subscribe to this channel as well if you found your way here. Stick around for more Movie Battleground matches. Rate the video, comment, and subscribe for more. With all that said, though, on behalf of everyone here, my competitors, Joe and Josh, my judges, Noah, Malcolm, and Zach, thank you guys. My name is Aaron Knoll, and we will see you next time. Take care, everybody.